And we live.
We're live. And we got COVID. And we're sick and we're live.
There's no one here.
Come join us. Hey, look, I got a notification saying that we're live. Okay. Why are we here today? Good sir. I'm trying so hard not to cough.
Yeah, as people start joining, we'll kind of get started. But the idea is you don't have a video today, and partly because it finally happened and we got COVID, and we'll talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Mad. I got really angry that we got COVID.
Yeah.
I got really upset because I didn't think we were going to get it. Hello, bookworm. Is that what that says, bookworm?
Yeah.
Hey, bookworm. I'm a bookworm too. And so is Pablo now, because since we've been sick, I got him to start reading things.
And we'll make a separate video about that journey because I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But
sorry.
Please excuse your coughs and whatnot, and please let me know if
This is a humidifier.
any sort of adjustment. Actually, I don't need to wear this anywhere.
It helps with breathing because it's really difficult to breathe.
So anyways, you've been kind of bedridden for the last few days.
Yeah, the last week or so.
Oh, I can't even see. I should have got my glasses. There we go. Diplomatic
Daisy. You feel that anger too. It was kind of like a grieving process because I was at work and I was like, oh, I just have a sore throat. Like I slept with the AC on. It's nothing. And then that night I went home and I was like, why do I feel like I'm dying? And then I tested and it was positive. And then I called my work and I was like, I'm so sorry. I kind of quit for a few weeks. Oh no.
Yeah, it didn't hit me as hard. I definitely felt. Well, I like slept completely for like 2 days. I couldn't get up at all.
Yeah. I couldn't sleep for the first like 3-4 days. I slept like maybe 4 hours.
That's probably why I've healed so much faster than you.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty like I'm like 90% there. I have a little bit of sore throat. I still cough every now and then. But I'm mostly out of it.
And it was
look crazy because I've been sweating a lot.
It's very frustrating because I was like, okay, fine. I have some time off of work. I'm going to read so many books. Every time I would pick up a book and I couldn't sleep. I was just staring at the wall in pain because every time I would pick up a book, my eyes like could not focus. My brain was so foggy. I couldn't understand what I was reading. It was really frustrating. I think a lot of the anger came from that too, where it's like, I can't even do what I want to do even though I'm not at work. Like I have the days off, but I have to do nothing. Are you kidding? It's driving me insane.
And then we couldn't even like watch TV or whatever because we couldn't really leave the room.
Yeah. Because we made the room into like this.
Yeah, we had the humidifier on and all that, and everything else outside the room is very difficult to breathe. The air was a lot colder and like instant throat ache and all kinds of horrible. So then we ended up kind of locked up in the room for longer than anyone would want to.
Sorry.
And then yesterday I said, "Okay, Nato." No, it wasn't yesterday. It was a few days ago. I said, "Okay, Nato."
It was the night before yesterday. It was at night.
Yeah, I was like, "Okay, Nato, give me a book."
And I got so excited. Excited.
So, like I said, we'll talk about my journey into reading more, but there's like 3 things I'm trying to do to get into reading, and one of them is to read something that I remember enjoying a lot when I was younger. And we ordered the Petit Prince, which in English is just the Little Prince.
Little Prince. And what's nice is that
because of Amazon, it came in one day.
Yeah.
And then Nadia read it the day it got here. Actually, I read it too.
Yeah, we both read it today.
Yeah, so it got here yesterday. You read it in one sitting while I was taking a nap. I remember you picking up the book and then I feeling like, I'm gonna doze off for a second, and then waking up and you being like, I'm done.
Yeah, it took me like half an hour or so. It's very little. It's very short, but there's so much packed into this little tiny book. It's such a beautiful little children's story, and it's not a children's story, not really. Like I can see us like reading this to a child, but
Well, yeah, I think.
but
I think
you're gonna
I
take
think
so
that's all
much more
things-
from it when you grow up.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things that children would relate to, but they wouldn't necessarily
Maybe
understand
not
the
understand.
overarching themes. And I mean, adults either. Like that's
That's
kind of,
true.
and they can acknowledge it that there too. But you know, we're gonna try to deep dive into it, and I think we'll realize that some stuff, just the level at which of the stuff that we get and don't get.
Someone said weed.
I know.
I don't know what you mean by that.
It's
Is
the
it
same.
because of the
Yeah.
this here? This is vapor. It's like a humidifier.
Yeah, it's better. I think he's saying that we should. I don't know.
Should we smoke weed?
But I can't imagine that being good for your throat.
Yeah.
Like when you're sick.
I mean, that'll probably calm me down so I can finally go to sleep, but
Yeah, that's one of your issues. You get very. It happened to you when you got the vaccines too. You were very
I get very uneasy when I
uneasy.
get
That's a
sick.
good, yeah.
I'll like pace and like just
It's like all you
take
need to
like
all
4
you need to do is
showers in a
sleep.
day. Like I just feel like I need, I don't know. I'm a little weird. Anyway,
Yeah, so I guess that's the update on how we're doing and why we're here. So let's jump into the book.
okay.
So I think we should kind of go through the story.
I'm
Like-
gonna read the back, just this first part.
Sure. I was gonna say before we go through the story, though, I wanted to like hear, like your favorite parts and stuff like that.
Okay, my
Well, I guess read through the back first,
Okay.
So the people that are not aware. I mean, we have someone that's
one of
yeah their
your favorite books.
So that's good. But for people unfamiliar with the book, let's kind of give them a synopsis.
A pilot stranded in the desert awakes one morning to see standing before him the most extraordinary little fellow. Please, asks the stranger, draw me a sheep. And the pilot realizes that when life's events are too difficult to understand, there is no choice but to succumb to their mysteries. He pulls out pencil and paper, and thus begins this wise and enchanting fable that, in teaching the secret of what is really important in life, has changed forever the world for its readers. I'm gonna cry. This little book, I think holds like the meaning of life.
Oh, the other thing too is some years ago we watched the movie adaptation. I think you mentioned, right? You mentioned that there's a movie adaptation. But we watched it before you read the book. You hadn't read, yeah. And then we watched it again today, and we'll talk about that too later on. But I forgot where I was going with that. Other than I guess mentioning that it exists and that we watched it and that it will be part of the discussion.
Well, I think
But
like it means more to me now because I read it and then watched it.
Yeah.
My favorite part, my favorite encounter that the little prince encounters, person that he comes across, is the fox. I think the fox holds the most wisest of lessons.
Good.
Yeah, I think he learns a lot from all of the people that he meets along the way, but he learns a lot about how not to be. Like he's searching for answers, and he keeps finding not answers. You know?
Yeah.
I have COVID brain, by the way. Like my thought process is like, just bear with me.
Jeff Gray joined us.
Oh, hey, Jeff. Hi.
Okay, so for my what's my favorite part of the book? That's an interesting point. I don't think I had a favorite part. I mean, so yes, that's kind of like one of the central themes. The whole, what's essential is invisible to the eye, which I think draws on other themes of. What came to my mind was that it's kind of opposite actually. But what came to my mind was that you only see what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So like you'll only see what's important to you. Um, and that applies to like a whole wide range of things, including simple things like when we wanted to get the Tesla, and then all of a sudden we started seeing Teslas everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not that the universe was giving us a sign, or that all of a sudden everyone else was getting Teslas. It was that the thing that was invisible to us before became sort of essential to us. And see what that's a little opposite, because I'm saying that now became essential and we were seeing it with the eye. But I guess before that it was invisible.
I don't know if the Tesla is essential.
Well, no, but just
I know I'm making a joke. I'm making a joke.
I'm giving an example of like how it applies to even the smallest of things. And sure, that's a big purchase or whatever, but I'm sure there's a lot of things that people can apply that to.
Oh.
Let me just start a comment, Jeff. There's a lot of things that the people can apply that to when they realize that they need something, or they start looking for something in their lives, and then all of a sudden that's all they see in people and in other things,
Like
and in other aspects of their lives.
Like...
So yeah, that was definitely an impactful part. I think. What do you think is? You were asking me this before we started, and I guess sorry we're gonna get into spoilers. So if you haven't read it, well, it's such a small story that it's hard to, even if you know the ending, it's hard to really be mad about knowing it.
I'm mad about the ending. I don't like the ending.
I think it's proper, and we'll get into it.
It's ambiguous, but
okay, for anyone that's afraid of spoilers, I would say it's kind of fine to be spoiled. Like it's not a huge. I don't know. Well, you watched the movie and then I guess you forgot about that part.
Yeah.
Because you were very surprised and upset about it.
Yeah, when I read it, and I was like, yeah, I don't remember that.
And I read it from such a young age that, or at least I knew about it because I probably didn't read it on my own. I was probably read.
Yeah, someone read it to you.
First, yeah, but I've never not known the ending.
It is a little ambiguous though, but
so here's the thing. For me, I think
it's hopeful.
this is the story of someone coming to age, and it's the death of your own childhood.
Yes.
In order to become an adult.
I know exactly where you're coming from. Yes.
I think the Little Prince is a representation of yourself and the highest ideal at the same time. He lives in a star.
It's an asteroid.
Well,
B612.
Sure, but you know.
I thought maybe.
But he also represents sort of. I think he represents the divinity and humanity, and we can say that because we also most people act as though children have something divine to them.
Yeah.
And he's a prince, which you could maybe draw some religious symbolism to it from Christianity.
Yeah.
Jesus being the prince.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he also has a bit of that untouched innocence and curiosity, because like it's said many times that if he has a question
he won't
and it's
asking.
not answered, he will keep asking. And who does that? Children.
Right.
But I think even as adults, you kind of do that, but you find the answers for yourself. You have to. No one's gonna answer your questions for you.
Well, if we look at it that way, it's interesting. If we say that the Little Prince is the pilot's own self, you could maybe say that he's part of his conscience, and you could say that he's asking the question to himself, which you can do, and you can often get answers from, but that's you could say that when you ask yourself something, it's hard not to get an answer, and it would bother you if you when a question pops into your head, it's hard to ignore it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's something about that in there.
Absolutely. But I mean, the first little bit of it feels like a like a children's story, I think, until you get to the sheep. Because
there's also the shepherd thing, by the way, with
Yes.
the whole Christian symbolism.
Yeah.
Like he's a little prince looking for sheep. He's sort of a shepherd per se.
Yeah. And again, seeing what you want to see. When
Right.
the pilot was little, he would draw, what is it? A boa swallowing
An elephant.
an elephant. I'm sorry, I have COVID brain. A boa constrictor swallowing an elephant, and it looks like a hat to adults because that's just what they see. That's what your brain fills in the blanks, and that's what you see. And he was like, no. Here's a cross section.
That's one of the symbolisms I wasn't fully able to break down the because there's an emphasis on
it's the
on being able to draw the inside
imagination.
and the outside, but like they emphasize on I was only able to draw the bow on the inside, bow on the outside, and I don't know if that was just supposed to be like a play on words.
Okay,
or...
wait. So it's the opposite. So when the pilot is little, he draws something from the outside, and you have to imagine what's inside.
Mm-hmm.
When the pilot is an adult, and a child asks him for a picture, he draws what would be inside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you know what? Here's a box. And the kid says, it's perfect. Because it's kind of like, oh my God, what is that? Something about the cat in the box. It's some like psychology term.
Schrodinger's cat?
Yes.
That's not a psychology term. That's a physics thing.
Is it a physics thing?
Yeah.
Or you don't know if the cat's alive or dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like kind of like that. Like you don't know what the sheep looks like, and you don't have to.
I think that's part of
That's life.
Well, I think that's
sucks.
Yeah, and
there's no answers.
Well, I think part of it too is that's saying that the ultimate ideal is unachievable.
Yeah.
Because he tried drawing the what the kid wanted.
One was a ram. One was too old. One was too.
You're right. There will always be imperfections with it. So the ultimate ideal is always a little bit unachievable, but you always strive for it, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start going through the thing, there's a couple of things too. The author apparently actually learned to fly planes when he was very little, like at the age of 12, which is impressive. I didn't know a 12-year-old could.
Yeah, but this was published in what, 1940 something?
Right, but well, even more impressive, I would say. I don't know of any child that can fly a plane.
Well, I'm saying back then, laws regarding children were much more lax.
I guess also people lived a lot shorter lifespans.
True.
I
wonder why.
But my whole thing with this being his own coming of age story is, and he was flying from a young age, and this is just the way he internalized his own coming of age story. And he gets lost in the desert. Again, a little bit of the religious symbolism.
Yeah.
It symbolized like getting lost in the desert has, in biblical tales, symbolized great transformation, and
more than once too. It's referenced quite a bit.
Right. So it's that descent into chaos. And that's where he finds his young self, and he has to deal with his own death, really, in order to come out the other side. And he can't leave until that happens. Like, he can't come out the other side into adulthood until his childhood dies. But the important lesson here is that, like, that you need to remember it, not just because it's an important step. Like, you can't just, and this is something that it's touchy, because the book wants to say, like, don't lose your childhood when you become an adult. Don't forget. But it's different. Don't forget that. Don't grow up.
Yeah.
And the movie does a better job at emphasizing on that.
Growing up isn't the problem. Forgetting is.
Right.
That's what the pilot says.
Because growing up is necessary, and it's essential.
Yes.
And for that to happen, the childhood has to die. Which is sad, and they say that it's sad all the time, but but it's life.
Well, there's that saying like life is a practice of letting go, and I think that's a lot of what this is, because he lets go of a lot of the people he comes across during the whole time, and there are representations of different attributes certain people. My brain, like, sorry, certain attributes certain people like kind of covet. Like one is the king, but what do you rule over? Everything. Okay, then can you make the sunset? Sure. Tonight. At sunset. I'll make the sunset. You watch, you see.
So the other thing too for me was, I think the planet he lives in, the little prince as a child, that's supposed to represent how trapped children are.
Yeah.
Like someone's house as a child can be your entire world. That's your entire planet per se, and there's not a lot happening in it.
Especially if you're born.
They even say that.
In 2020 and further.
Oh, they even say that in the book where when at some point.
Sorry, that was gross.
At some point, the pilot mentions that the princess planet was no bigger than the house. Yeah, and that was a little bit of a.
A little.
Yeah. I think the flower was interesting because at first I thought the flower represented the mother. But in the movie more so, they also made it seem like the flower was just maybe like love in general, or I think it could be both, right? It could be the mother and like future love interest and nature.
I think it was love in general because the movie also, I don't remember if it actually says it verbatim from here, but in the movie they said they both loved each other but were too young to understand how. Yeah,
they say that, which they don't say in the book, and that was maybe one of the more odd things that I found in the movie.
I like that
adaptation. Yeah, that was interesting. But and one of the things that puts me away from the interpretation that the flower might be the mother is that she's very
demanding.
Yeah, and sort of like selfish in a way.
Some mothers can be that way.
And the other thing is that in order to grow, he feels like he needs to leave his planet, like leave his house.
That's how a lot of people feel, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's just like that's why it's relatable and justifiable. So then he travels to other people's planets, and they're all like representations of perhaps good people gone wrong. I think it's a good way to put it. Is the first one the king?
Yeah.
So the king was really interesting to me because at first when he first landed there, I thought he was going to be the representation of sort of society gone wrong, or just like the worst parts of society, like an evil ruler per se. But he kind of is, because all kings in a way are. There's something like, other than in modern times when the queen is not really ruling in the same fashion, like they're just symbols, but in every other time in history we've had a king, it's always ended poorly. You know what I mean?
So you're saying the only way for it to succeed is if there's a queen? No.
Is
that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like that the idea of an authoritarian ruler is always portrayed in, not portrayed, it has always end in bad things in society. So his symbol as so his persona, I thought it was a representation of something evil per se. But then you also see that he's not an oppressive ruler, because he only commands things that are reasonable, he says.
Yeah.
But I think part of that.
Say if the something allows it, if the conditions.
Yeah.
If the conditions allow it.
And I think part of that
is adorable.
I think some of that is to say that even the ruler of everything, the most powerful ruler that rules over everything, because that's what he says he is, doesn't have full control over you, which I also thought was maybe represented him as God himself. I mean, he's the king, he's the prince. That's another it's another thing of that religious symbolism, right? Him being God and
son of,
and then the prince, Jesus. So that was interesting, and then on top of that, even like we still have free will in the biblical stories. God can rule over everything except our own free will.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of that, and there was a little bit of a message of even the most powerful ruler and authoritarian can't tell you what to do in a way.
Yeah.
So there was some message of that in there. I thought that was really nice. I don't know. Anything you want to add about that part?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little comedic when he came around, the king, because it was like, I'll do anything you want if it has to do with nature's gonna do it anyway. It's like, look how well trained my dog is, and the dog is sleeping, and you're like, you know what I mean?
Well, so the and this will become more obvious in the later ones.
I have a question.
But I think that people being trapped in their own planet is a representation of someone that's become too obsessed with something. For this guy, it was power and control.
Mm-hmm.
So he's so obsessed with it that he's essentially trapped in his own planet.
Okay.
And you can see that with all the other characters, and that comes up again in the movie. But we'll talk about them.
What do you think the baobabs represent? I think it can represent the mind, and how it can very easily become like, this is my mind.
Well, I guess we didn't talk about that as much, but to me, that the whole thing was, first of all, there's the
like
there's the idea
tend to your planet,
of tend to your own house. There's the idea of that. Take care of your own house. Then there's also the idea of tend to your problems when they're small, because otherwise they'll become catastrophic.
Yeah. That's why he wants the sheep to eat the baobabs when they're small.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that was. I'm not sure about that, because that's like a little bit of a lazy approach, you could say.
No, that's what they.
I know what's written, but I think there were maybe disconnected thoughts.
Okay.
I don't know what the volcanoes represented, by the way.
And one of them is dead.
Yeah.
But you never know.
I guess just the possibility. I think the whole description of how he has to take care of the planet is a symbolism for how destructive nature can be, and then the flower comes along, and it's a representation for how loving and giving nature can be.
Yeah.
It's both sides. It's duality of nature. Nature can be can help you, or it can hurt you.
My first read, your first read was a long time ago, but your read yesterday, was you interpreted it with religious.
Well, I was reading it and trying to find all the symbols and all the deeper meaning to the things in it.
I kind of saw Peter Pan.
Yeah, I mean, that's you could say that, because he's a transition of everlasting childhood, but
yes.
In this book he has to die again for the self to become an adult.
But the representation of the stars, and especially with flying away with the birds, and
I'm sure it's a similar takeaway what Peter Prince is trying to say. True. Because, and more so in the movie, it's more obvious that they're saying that, like, the highest form of ideal is first of all in the stars, and it's like that childlike wonder, and they're saying that that's essential to society.
Curiosity.
Yeah, and it is like, societies eventually die off with no children. Even though children are at the same time useless when they are children.
No.
Well, a little bit, but like to society. There's the issue of like they don't produce anything, but
I think
there's
they
also
produce something that is essential because it's invisible.
Well, they bring forth new ideas, but not necessarily. But not necessarily, when they're that young.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay, we're getting out of ourselves. What else? So then he goes to the next planet, which was
Conceited Man?
Was that the next one?
Or is it the drunk?
No, I think the next one was the vain man.
The conceited man, yeah. Vain.
Yeah.
Conceited.
And
Which
that
I
one
think is hilarious.
Yeah, I think this one was more obvious in the whole thing of, well, he's so into himself that he's basically stuck on his own planet.
Yeah.
And that one was I think a simpler thing to interpret. It was just, don't be like this person, or you end up all alone.
Yeah.
If you only care about one thing, it'll separate you from everything, and you won't achieve the ideal. If you only hold one thing as your ideal, it'll be very hard to achieve it, and you probably won't do it, and you'll be alone. And then he goes to the planet of the drunkard.
Yeah.
Which I think is also pretty obvious that vices can also isolate you.
Yeah, alienate you from society.
And you can end up alone in your own planet. Might as well. And the last one, I thought this one was one of the stronger ones, the accountant.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, okay. So, this is a French book. This is written by a French person. In the
1920s. No, not 20s. 40s?
40s, I think. Yeah. And I thought that was very interesting that was put in there because that seemed very American.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the French have never liked. Not that they've never liked America.
Like when you think,
but they've always thought of America
a country that is driven by greed.
Yeah.
That their entire economic system, social system, is driven by the concept of instant gratification.
But it's not. Hold on.
That's America.
It's not. It's not that it's solely driven by that.
Kinda.
No, that's not the issue.
My work wants me back.
Well, that's the, and you should punish your work with,
I mean,
you have the means to. You just choose not to. But that's not really okay. It's not good. Anyways.
I mean, I just don't want to get anybody else sick.
Well. So. It's overdoing it. It's the obsession of only caring about.
Numbers. Really.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting that
success written in a very small box.
Yeah. It's a very unilateral form of success, and when you it's same as the vain person. He only cared about fame, and so he became isolated and a villain per se. Now this guy, his planet was a little bit bigger, which I thought was interesting because I think it symbolizes that more people, that this happens to a lot more people.
Yeah.
A lot more people get caught up with the idea of success in money.
Or owning.
I thought it was really interesting. The little prince asked him, like, what's the point of all that? Like, what are you going to do with all these stars? Like, and what does it serve you? And he says, well, I'm going to put them in a bank, which was just writing a number down and putting it in his drawer. Yeah. Which is a very real representation of money in the bank.
Yeah. And it's not real.
And how, well, yes, but also how useless it is. Like money has, if you're stuck in an island, money has no value to you. Yeah. I think Elon said that, Elon Musk, which, never mind, people are mad at him right now.
Let's not talk about him.
Yeah. But
strike that.
But there's truth to that.
Yeah.
That money only has value as a means of
as much
acquiring
as
other
much value
things.
as people will put into it.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Well, it was created in order to transfer your productivity into you being able to acquire a means of living and ways to maybe increase your productivity if what you're doing is good enough that other people need it. So as to increase your success and.
But I think there's a disconnect there with saying.
But if you only become
if it's
obsessed
good
with,
enough, because
well, if you only become obsessed with the number, that's when you become trapped in that idea, and you'll lose yourself in your own planet. Because
America.
the most successful people that also do good with their money don't necessarily care about the money as much. It's that they have a goal in mind, and the money is helping them get there. It is a means to an end, not the end itself.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see it as the end itself, that's when life can become miserable.
Yeah.
Per se. And that comes up in the movie again,
Mm-hmm.
in more than one way. I don't know if you caught it, but we'll talk about that too.
I may not have caught it. I caught something else.
Okay, so the next planet was the lamplighter.
Oh, the lamplighter! I forgot about the lamplighter. I liked him in the book. He was not in the movie.
Yeah, I mean there was like a brief mention of his planet at the end.
Yeah.
But this it's similar because you can become obsessed with making money, fame, or you can become obsessed with your work, and not in the sense of I need to work really hard and stuff for the money, but just some people just feel that you kind of like that. So feel that obligation of how can we put it? Yeah, I don't know how else to put it other than you become obsessed with your work. And you feel like you have to leave everything else, including your own health and your own sleep, in order to do your job. And you leave everything else behind, and then you become miserable and isolated in your own planet, where you have no sleep and the only thing you have is your work. A little bit.
No, because I read while I'm at work.
Well,
I think I see that. I think I was very much like that when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I think everyone's like that when you first start.
Goal where I need to become,
and it's important
to climb the ladder.
It's important to have goals and a hierarchy of things that are important to you, and having your work be one of the things that's important to you is, I would say, important for you to be happy. But there's an issue when you leave everything else behind in order to only focus on that. It's not about the money. It's not about your family. It's not about your health. You become lost in your own little planet where you don't sleep and all you do is work.
America.
It doesn't, but it's not, because like, it's not about the money for the lamplighter.
Oh no. But he just wants to rest.
Well, yes, that's what his inner self wants, but his outer self, that's what he says, but he doesn't do it. And actions speak louder than words. It's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to do it. Your actions show what you believe.
I want to quit my job and write books,
but you don't do it.
But
your actions
can't do it.
Show what you believe stronger than your words do.
You know why? Because like the first, 20 years of my life, I worked towards this one thing.
Yeah.
With reading and books and everything being kind of what helped me get through that. And then now that I'm on this like career path, I think this happens to so many people. So many people that like once you're in the field that you work so hard to get into, you realize like I was a lot happier doing the thing that got me through it. Like, well, I think you shouldn't have to have something else to get you through the day.
I think that's part of the issue with, it's kind of cliche to say, but society nowadays, is that we hold as one of the highest, I would say we hold the highest achievable goal as being successful in a career,
Yeah.
making money.
Yeah.
And that's part of why the birth rate's so low now, and other things have fallen to the sidelines per se.
I don't want to get too political, but like,
It's not really political, because I think both parties do it. It's just a change in the way in what we value as a society. And
well, that's why I'm saying I thought it was
Well, I
interesting
think-
to see this in this type of book, because like French society, from what I understand and from what I've learned from
Mhm.
knowing French people, like in my life, is that they value experience, time, relationships much more than your career. Like here we live to work, and there they work to live. It's a different kind of, it's a completely different kind of corporate lifestyle, I would say, from what I understand. I don't know firsthand, but that's why I thought this was interesting to see in a French book, French children's book. But it's also saying, here's how not to be.
Mhm.
Like, do not put owning the stars above relationships with other people, relationships with your rose, with your fox, with your pilot.
Yeah, I mean, again, with your mother and nature.
Yeah.
So then he meets the geographer.
Okay.
I don't have anything really deep to say about this one,
Um,
other than it's useless to be like a geographer does not explore.
well, yeah,
There
he
was something
goes
about
around
that,
in
but, like-
circles that he's a geographer, but he's never been anywhere.
Yeah.
He's an explorer. So I think that it's kind of like, I took away from that where like,
What
I
is
think
the-
about this all the time, where I work so much that I don't have a lot of life experiences. What kind of book am I going to write if I can't take from, like I think about things like that. But then I think like, I don't think Sarah J. Maas has ever been to Prithian. And she's writing about it, so just use your imagination. But you want an element of humanity in everything that you write. And if you can't conjure that from memory, you have to conjure it from imagination.
Well, Rocket Reed says hello.
Hello, Rocket Reads. Thank you for being here.
Maybe you're just joining us, which I think one of you is. Talking about the Petit Prince.
Yes.
Which this book we read because we got COVID and we don't feel well. I'm sorry for the sniffles and the coughs and that, but we're trying to get through discussion.
The humidifier and cough drops.
There's also an emphasis on the eternal and the temporary, and the geographer is obsessed with that is eternal. And that could be a thing about, you also have to appreciate the fleeting moments per se.
Yeah.
They're not eternal. But yeah, in general, I didn't necessarily get anything too profound other than that, which,
that has some depth.
It's deeper than much other things.
You know what else I love about this book? It's a children's book, but it's not overrun by illustrations. I think it has the perfect amount of words to illustrations, because there are some pages, just show them, where there's no pictures. It's a book. It's not a picture book. It's a book.
But then there's some that are.
And then there are some where it's the whole page, because it's rightfully so. Some of them that are like rightfully so, and some of them that are like intertwined. I just really appreciated that experience in reading a book that way. Because I love when a book has illustrations. Even if it's in like Gallant. Gallant had beautiful illustrations. I really enjoyed that, and they were well placed. So I can appreciate that this is considered a children's book that an adult can take a lot away from. I'm sorry, talking is really exhausting. Well, thank you, Rocket Reads. She says, I hope y'all feel better soon. Thank you. It's been a week. I've been paid.
Hey,
Jade.
Join this.
Hello. Welcome. I talk to her a lot.
We're discussing the Petit Prince.
Yes. Yes, read this to your daughter. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. If you're just joining us, or if you've been here from the beginning.
It has a lot of depth to it. And
and life.
And there's a movie that we're gonna talk about later. But yeah, and you can read it in a day apparently. Well, in an hour.
Thank you, Jade. She also hopes we feel better.
Okay, so we're about halfway through when he finally gets to Earth.
Okay. Wait, no.
Yeah.
He meets.
So he gets to Earth and he lands in the desert.
Sorry. I didn't want to sneeze.
Which is the place where, people
Oh, look, it's
go
Ellen.
for a great transformation.
Hey,
Look
Ellen.
at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She also makes me feel better. Thank you.
One more time, we're talking about the Petit Prince. So people just joined us right now. It's funny. Anyways, we're about halfway through. The prince just got to Earth. And the first thing he lands in the desert, and the first thing he meets is the snake, which is
very biblical,
and a symbol of extreme malevolence, extreme evil. Sorry, I just read your comment, Rocket. That's cute.
It's very cute.
And that's great.
Yeah.
But a lot of parents wish.
Yeah.
That's true for them. Anyways, so the snake essentially. I don't know. See, this is one of the things I struggle with, because you could say that the snake tempts him to. That the snake can end his life when he wishes in order to go home. And you can say that that's a lie. I can take you
farther than you've ever been. Yeah.
And it's unclear to me if that's a lie or if the prince actually understands exactly what it means.
It's another thing I like about it. It's written in ambiguous terms where it's like open to interpretation what you believe.
I think in the context of if you like the interpretation of the Little Prince being the internalization of the pilot's youth, then you could say that he knows exactly what he means, because he knows that his child self has to die in order for him to grow up. Otherwise, I think other interpretations are probably welcome as well.
Yes, feel free to talk about it in the comments.
What's also interesting too is that the pilot learns about snakes being extremely powerful in the beginning, and when he gets there, he questions the snake about the power, and then he says, I can take you farther than anything else. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, in the book, he then finds the flowers. Well, he goes up a mountain.
He finds the fox first.
No, I thought in the book he finds the flowers first.
Oh. And
he realizes that his flower is not unique. Yeah. Which I thought was also, if we accept interpretation that the flower can be, his mother, maybe both parents even, to a kid, in the beginning, like your parents are everything.
Yeah.
Specifically your mother too. And then you find out that there are others like her.
Yeah.
And there's probably something to say about that being maybe hard to comprehend, that there are many like yours, but yours, and then also realize that yours is the most special, and kind of come to the understanding of why that is probably a challenge, and something he learns through the fox, which he meets next. And this encounter is probably the most dreamlike.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah, it's definitely the most memorable one, but it's to me it was really interesting in how they were communicating very clearly, even though the fox is like, I can't talk to you because I'm not tamed yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't
I think
know
he learns. I think he learns the most from the fox.
Yes.
Not only in.
Which I thought was weird that it's a fox, because a fox is usually, you know, a trickster.
But I think that's the point. Is that the whole point of it is that you see what you want to see.
Okay.
And I think maybe that's why the fox is also drawn with like bunny ears. And he acknowledges that at the end, like the ears were not right on the fox and this wasn't drawn right and this, you know, because it was interpreted differently.
Yeah, okay.
So
yeah, so usually you expect, you know, in stories we usually say that foxes are, they're not usually, they're not usually benevolent. They're usually there's usually something evil about them.
Malevolent.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that they're not benevolent.
Yes, they're not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I'm good. I just have COVID. Other than that, I'm pretty good. Oh, you too?
Yeah.
Who gave it to you?
Probably you.
I know.
What else? Then he encounters the fountain afterwards? I don't remember that.
How are you? Does anyone else have COVID? Or like had it before? Do you have any tips? Felt like I was dying for a minute there, but I'm very dramatic.
Yeah, so I guess then we cut back to
that hurt. What?
So then we come back to the pilot trying to repair his ship, his plane.
His ship.
You know what's interesting? I just realized the idea of, you know, the pilot's an adult, or he's becoming an adult, and he's trying to do work to save his life, and he has his, in my opinion, his child self kind of keeping him from doing that essential work. And that
Is
can
that
be
just
like
anyone on their day off?
Well, kind of. That could be like a representation of you know, your youthful spirit, kind of. It's always like perhaps in the back of your mind, bugging you a little bit when you're being a little too productive.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think that's a solid representation because, you know, on my days off, what do I do all day?
You just wanna, yeah.
I just want to read.
But then
explain, you know, adults that I'm gonna go golfing this weekend. You don't hear a kid say that.
Yeah, I don't know what golfing.
Oh, that sounds like a nice time. Rocket reads, reading Aurora Rising, and made some tea. Oh, what did Jeff say?
I think Pablo would enjoy Red Rising. It's really well written. It's filled
with
love, violence, and political intrigue. It's a futuristic world and society.
That's the one. That's the one he sent me, and it is. Oh. It's on this shelf right here.
That sounds interesting. I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah. I have like a very specific TBR right now, but I will definitely get to Red Rising.
I might be.
Do you want to read it before me?
Your next TBR.
You want to read it before me?
I don't know. Well, there's so again, I guess since people joined, there's more people now than when I explained it. I am trying to get into reading, and I'm taking a very specific approach. That's why we started with this. Well, that's why we read this one, because one of the things that I thought would be useful into getting into reading is to read something that I know I've enjoyed in the past. But one other thing, and then the second one is going to be whatever Nai recommends, since she already recommends something. And I'm already started on it.
But you did like... Okay.
Don't talk about it. Well, because we'll talk about it more in another video.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil too much.
Okay.
But then the third step of that is going to be reading something that I pick per se. And I mean, that might be what it is,
Okay.
because it sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Alright.
Very nice. And then Jade says she's still reading House of Leaves. I have House of Leaves. I bought it. Have not read it yet, but it's sitting on the shelf, very patiently waiting. I'm very excited to read that one because that's like supposed to be a really trippy book. Anyway, back to the Little Prince. Where are we now? He's with the fox.
Yeah, and like he becomes prince and stuff, and then the fox, tells him
Tamed.
Yeah.
And I love that. You have tamed me. We have tamed each other.
I thought it was interesting. The fox is the one that tells him that he needs to go back to the
rose, yeah.
Yeah, to the rose. I didn't know what to make of that.
Honey with some tea. Yes. Constantly.
We've consumed maybe a dozen lemons in the last 2 days,
yes.
2-3
and
days.
We bought a jar of honey, like that Monday. I didn't feel so well, where it was still. I actually, so we did go out.
We technically went to the store,
but I tested negative.
You did a home test.
I did a home test. I tested negative, so I was like, okay, then what is this? So we went to the store.
Yeah. And since I was feeling about the same, if not a little better,
and then I tested the next day, and then that was positive. So while we were out and about, I did technically test negative. So, yeah. Since then, we have not left the house. We haven't even opened the garage. Like we haven't left anywhere. But our families have come to the door, have left like care packages. They've been fantastic, in like leaving. Anyway, so we bought this jar of honey, this big jar, and it's halfway through already. Like we're on it with the lemon, ginger, honey, tea, cough drops. This thing. A funny story about this thing. I was having a tantrum. Because I couldn't breathe, and I get very mad. I get so mad when I feel like I can't function, and I just couldn't breathe. And it was like 2 a.m, and I was getting really frustrated that I couldn't fall asleep. And then I took like Theraflu or something to make me go to sleep, and I still couldn't sleep. So I started like dozing a little bit, and Pablo was like, "Here, put this like hot compress on your head and just be quiet." And I was like,
well, you told me to get you the hot compress because you read that it would be good.
Yeah, but I was also afraid that if I got too hot, I would just like get even sicker. So he put it on. I finally fell asleep, and then he comes in the room at 3:00 a.m. with like some stuff. And you did like curbside pickup.
Yeah, I had
for. Okay, so I lied. Yeah, I technically did. I forgot about that. I didn't go anywhere, but it was like a curbside thing where they just put it in your trunk. That he ordered this from, like Walgreens or CVS or whatever.
It was like a 24-hour because it was like 3 a.m.
Yeah, it was 3 a.m. And then since we got this, I've felt so much better. Like every day has been a little bit better.
A nasal spray.
Oh, the nasal spray.
You were getting a lot of congestion.
Yeah. You don't want to blow in my mouth so it all comes out.
Oh my gosh. We saw the weirdest No, never mind.
Yeah, never mind. We saw that on TikTok. It was really gross.
It was a baby.
Went through a whole bag. Yeah, we have 3 bags of cough drops. We haven't gone through them yet. I recommend
these are so much better than the Halls.
I wouldn't know. I can't smell or taste anything.
No, it's not about because I think the Halls taste a lot better, but these well, I fall asleep with them in my mouth.
Yeah, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it sounds like he has candy in his mouth, and I'm like, what are you doing?
When they sleep for more than like a couple hours,
that's
and
not
they're still there,
good.
It's probably not good for my teeth. Anyways,
it's not good for your teeth. You can choke.
But these last, I thought of that. That's always.
That's a good thing that you thought of it.
Well, because it's not the first time I've done it. Like whenever I have like the flu, when I've had like the flu or whatever in the past, I've slept with cough drops in my mouth, and I've always thought, I hope I don't choke on this when I'm asleep.
I can't imagine doing that. Yes, Rocket reads the steam. It helps tremendously. That's why I've been taking so many showers, because like the steam, I can finally breathe, and it's like I've had like this migraine of a headache the entire time. It's incessant, and it's from being so congested. And the only time I get some semblance of relief is when I'm in the shower.
But my like Daisy apparently gets really angry too, I think. Or just like that one. She's sick too. So.
Right? Just anger. She's like, oh, I don't feel good. to.
So the fox tells him to go back to his mother.
Go back to your mother.
And I don't necessarily know what to make of that, but this is also the time that the pilot kind of gives up. Well, it's not happening concurrently. Like, I guess the fox tells him to go back to the rose, and then he finds the pilot, and then he's telling the pilot the story, and it's around this time that it's like the last day, and the pilot's like, I give up, and they're like, well, if we're gonna die, we might as well go find some water. So let's walk to the well.
Oh yeah.
And it's his idea to walk to the well because the pilot's ready to give up. And there's something about, I think there's something about like the youthful spirit being the savior in this case, coming up with the idea of finding water, because the old man, he's not old at that point, but in comparison, the old man is caught in his ways and he's gonna die. He's gonna starve and not drown. What is the thing? Die of thirst.
Mm-hmm. The opposite.
And it's the youthful spirit of the prince that says, let's go find the water fountain. And they do. And they find the water, which is probably some religious
Biblical
thing
soul,
as well.
Yeah.
But then the prince talks to the snake, and the pilot realizes, and he's like, don't trust the snake.
Yeah.
Which is again some biblical thing, but the prince says, I have to do it, and I would like to do it alone. You shouldn't see me go. And the pilot goes back to explain, and he fixes it miraculously. Like, he only fixes it after he lets go of the prince. He couldn't fix it while the prince was around.
Yeah.
And then he goes back for the prince, and they walk together for a little bit. And then
he fell gently,
goes to head,
the way a tree falls. There wasn't even a sound. Ruined the moment. I kind of want to read this last bit out loud.
Go for it.
If that's possible. Sometimes I tell myself anyone might be distracted once in a while, and that's all it takes. One night, he forgot to put her under glass, the rose, or else the sheep got out without making any noise during the night. Then the bells are all changed into tears. It's all a great mystery for you who love the little prince too. As for me, nothing in the universe can be the same if somewhere, no one knows where, a sheep we never saw has or has not eaten a rose. Look up at the sky. Ask yourself, has the sheep eaten the flower or not? And you'll see how everything changes. And no grown-up will ever understand how such a thing could be so important. I want to go home. I was mad about that ending, because you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of like my childhood home and how I can never go back.
Well, that's I think that would be true even if you could physically go back. Like in your case, it happens to be that
you can't
that you can't physically go back, but that sentiment would be true even if you could.
Yeah.
And that's that's
like
what I was trying to express and symbolize, that your childhood has to die in order for you to grow up.
I don't like that.
And
because that's
but
it's so true too, because when you see
but it's also
photos,
that you need that youthful spirit to stay alive through memory, because you need that youthful spirit as an adult.
and that's why I like that last page, because he talks about getting distracted once in a while. That's all it takes to like lose yourself. What?
Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
Oh, can't sleep and have a cold? Take NyQuil. You'll sleep and it's more like blacking out. That's how
We didn't try NyQuil, huh?
No, we didn't try NyQuil, but the Theraflu,
We tried Theraflu nighttime and Aleve PM.
I tried Aleve PM. I did not like the way that made me feel. It made me feel very drugged, and which made me like, because I felt so sleepy and drugged, I tried to stay awake, like to go against it because I was scared of what was happening, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. So that made me. It was just. I'm very difficult when I'm sick. Pablo's taken great care of me, but I've been very difficult. Okay, talk about the movie?
Yeah, unless you have any other comments about the book.
Read the book.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say anyone can get something out of the book. There's definitely... It's probably one of the best books to start reading because it's so simple.
Yeah.
And it's so...
And I would still consider it a book. It's about 83 pages. A lot of those pages are supplemented with illustrations, so it's very easy to read. I was gonna say fluent. That's not the right word. Yeah, if you're in a bit of a reading slump, maybe, and you read like, I don't know, 4 books that are like 1,000 pages or more, just read this one. Break it up, palate cleanser. This is fantastic. Yesterday I finished reading like 2 books, and I was gonna start another one, but I read this one in one sitting, and it's so good. Stupid movie made me cry.
Did the movie make you cry more than the book?
Yes.
Really?
That's why I'm like, books very rarely make me cry. And I think it's because like when you hear someone, when you hear them speak, or like when the little girl,
it's emotional, yeah.
It's like she's like, don't leave me again.
So in 2015, a movie came out that's an adaptation of this book, but it's a little bit of it's framed a little different.
Yeah.
It's very faithful to the source material, but it's also framed in a different way. And
I would say it's framed in a way that anyone can see it interpreted.
Yeah.
And practiced in,
so
this is the way the book was meant to be practiced.
Yeah. I was surprised to say that my interpretation of the book did not change with the movie.
Yeah.
No, I think it got validated in a lot of ways. It's a very good movie. I would probably recommend it to anyone. The animation is it's different and it's good.
Yeah, the animation is fantastic. The cast is great. You got Jeff Bridges, Rachel McAdams, Marianne Cotillard, I think Paul Rudd. James Franco's in there, but this was in 2015, so there's a ton of other people that are like pretty big names I believe it started, or it premiered, I'm sorry, COVID brain. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in 2015, and then it had a regular release in France 2015. But we saw it together when it first came out on Netflix in 2016 or 2017, one of those. It's not on Netflix anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only way you can watch it now is renting it.
Yeah.
There's a few services.
You can rent it through Amazon, Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Sleeping Beauty and Leaving Benadryl. Oh. Benadryl.
But I am in pain.
Yeah, but we are in pain.
Pain of
existence. Oh, that's a different kind of pain. Thank you for the advice, Jeff.
Yeah. So the way the movie starts is we're following. I think the movie's also a coming of age story. I think it's more obviously, and this time it's about a little girl. It's a little girl that is trying to get into a very strict,
prestigious
school, and she has a single mom who's trying really hard to
prepare her for adulthood.
Yeah. And
in a way that I think is too much. Like she's not allowed to be a child.
Right. And Okay. There's like there's a part I want to talk about, but we'll get to it. So they're very blunt about portraying society as something that's strayed away from the highest ideal. There's it's almost as though like the hierarchy has broken apart, and there's nothing is more important than anything else. They just like all they care about is like order. Order is the only important thing, and individuality and youthfulness,
Creativity.
are all crushed.
Everything is gray.
Everything is gray.
Excuse me.
So we start with the little girl kind of failing the interview to get into the school. So,
but not because she was prepared, but not like it. I don't know.
I don't think the reason matters in the context of the story. But the point is that she couldn't get in, so she had to.
The mom uproots their entire life
to buy a house that's in a specific neighborhood that ensures that she can go to that school, and they move there,
which is what a lot of people do. Like they will uproot their lives and move for the sake of the education of their child, which, I mean, is that, I don't know, homeschool
them. And it just so happens that the neighbor of this new house,
that's why they can afford it.
Yeah, which had a price reduction because they had a crazy neighbor. Allegedly, it's not explicitly said, but that's very.
That's how it's interpreted.
Yeah.
It looks like it was once a great town, and then it was gentrified into all the cookie cutter houses, and the investor that made this little town just couldn't get this one guy's house because it's the only house that is like overrun with vegetation. It has like
so
the little car that's like stuck, and it's very whimsical.
So the whole thing, and I just said that it betrays the bad parts of society, of culture, and the old man. So the house belongs to an old man who is the pilot, and it's the pilot of in the book. You'll later find out, but in this story, he represents the good parts of society. He's the benevolent part of culture, and I thought it was interesting that it's all really well interlaced with nature. Like he represents how culture and nature can live together in harmony, which you don't see anywhere else.
Yeah.
I actually took some notes. I forgot.
Oh, you did?
A little bit, yeah. Let's see if I forget anything from the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, Rocket Reads is asking. We're talking about the animated version that came out in 2015. Apparently, there's a 1974 British American version.
I saw that there's a 1974.
I didn't know
version.
that.
No. We're talking about 2015 animated. That was live action, I think. I saw because we were looking for it and I saw it, but yeah, no.
Sorry, I'm RN. I just really to take that hat off. Even on my horse. Oh, I was like, you're wearing a hat?
No.
I know. What kind of hat? I want a picture. Oh, hi. Playing footsie with you under the table.
Okay, so yeah, I wrote that he's the benevolent father.
Yeah.
Culture.
Sometimes when you say benevolent, it sounds like you're saying malevolent, and that's the opposite.
So then we get a glimpse into what the mom has prepared for the daughter in order to prepare for the academy, the school, and we see her study. And I don't know if you noticed, but even the math books, they were like single spaced.
Yeah.
There was like no spacing between the equations, and the sentence were like in the same line.
Yeah, it looked like I got PTSD.
There was no.
Nightmarish.
Well, I've never seen a math book like that. That's not how math books are.
I know.
But I thought it was a very deliberate thing because it was.
Well, when she says, like, how can everything essential fit in one?
You're right. Like later
book,
on, they like.
well, it's single spaced.
Later on, they like make a joke about that, but it's that there's no room for error.
Yeah.
Like literally room for error, and that's a very oppressive view in the world. Like, like authoritarians. That's probably loud. Apologize. Sorry. I don't know. You're like coughing into my phone. Like authoritarians never leave any room for error, so it's a very oppressive view of the world.
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, we lost Nano. You okay? Okay, I'm gonna keep going with the thought. Yeah, so then she's studying, she's doing everything that the mom is in a way forcing her to, like like all of society is kind of oppressing her and forcing her to do things, and she's kind of going along with it, but I guess she doesn't yet know that whether she wants to or not be a part of this. And then the there's what is that called? No, what's the part of the plane called? The part of the plane that breaks the house? It's not the wing, it's the propellant? Propeller. Yeah, and then the propeller flies through the side of the house and breaks a bunch of things. And then we meet the old guy who comes in through the side of the house to retrieve the propeller. And that's the first glimpse we get of this goofy looking old man dressed in like a pilot's uniform, who causes a great deal of damage to the establishment. So you could say that he is a threat to the establishment.
Order, he's chaos.
Yeah, he's exactly. There you go. He's a threat to this. I don't know if you guys heard her, but he represents chaos and well, in this case, youth as well. Even though he's the old guy. Take 5. You're okay. So the little girl calls the cops because there was a great deal of damage done to the house. Oh yeah, but we don't see that. And then the cops come and they knock on the door, and the cops already know that like this is the old guy that's always doing this crazy stuff, and now he's broken the house with the propeller because he has a plane in the backyard. And who does that? Who keeps a plane in the backyard? And we see that all the neighbors kind of gather around the house to see the spectacle of the old man, and he tries to acknowledge them and say hi to them. They all turn around and give the backs to him and hide inside their houses. They don't want anything to do with this man. He is shunned from society because he is too fun for everyone. Essentially.
Wait, he's not conforming as an adult.
Yeah. Right. He's not conforming as an adult. What happens then? So then the mom comes home. They talk about how they need to call insurance and a bunch of procedural things. So the little girl's upset at the old man and doesn't want anything to do with him at this point. And then that night, he throws a piece of paper airplane into her window.
Symbolic. Paper airplane.
Yeah, and I guess he likes planes. Is that what you mean?
He's a pilot, yeah.
Yeah. and it's essentially a page from the book.
First page.
Is it? It's the first page from the book. No, it's not.
It's the sheep.
Yeah, that's not the first page.
Or no, it's not the sheep. It's the poem. It's the first page.
Is it? No, I thought it was about the sheep. I don't know. It's one of the pages from the book. I don't think it's in order because she puts it in order at the end. Ooh, that's interesting. We'll talk about that. Okay, so what is it? So she looks at the page, she reads it, she's like, "That doesn't make any sense." Well, she glimpses at it, it doesn't make any sense, and she throws it in the trash, closes the window. Again, establishing that she doesn't want anything to do with him. So the next day, the mom leaves, as she's always been leaving. And ooh, I forgot one part.
Well, we don't want to go through the whole movie, though. Do we?
Jeff says, "Have you asked your doctor for an albuterol inhaler or Sonet XOPENEX Xenopex?"
So it's not really my lungs. It's a lot of my throat.
It would really help open up your lungs and let you breathe more easily.
I will have to ask. I just need some.
Yeah, I know for me at least,
air.
like none of it felt like down in our lungs. It felt mostly in my throat, really. For me, anyways, it was
No,
it was like all in my throat.
That chest cough.
Get back. Okay, so I guess we don't want to go into too much detail of the movie. So let's talk more about the overarching things then.
Okay.
Well, I guess we have to mention that then, little by little, the child, the curiosity in the little kid takes over, and she starts asking more questions and going over to the old man's house, and we start learning about the story of the book, because he has written the book, but it's in chaos. It's out of order.
He says that he's a hoarder.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
And he starts finding all these relics and kind of piecing the story together. He's really enjoying the story. Movie.
Yeah, we might end a little bit early because, oh god, I think talking too much is upsetting my throat.
So, at some point around this time, the mom's still like super obsessed with her schedule and like what she's doing and if she's still in thing. And you see, they like do it for a split second, but they show the mom in her own planet.
Yeah.
Pushing the schedules around.
Yeah, pushing the little.
And that's that was like a validation of the whole idea that
I got that.
That these are just regular people that became too obsessed with one thing, and they became trapped in their own planet. It was interesting to see that the mother had to essentially assume the traditional dad responsibility, and she was trying really hard to do it, becoming obsessed with it, to integrate her into culture. Like she had benevolent thoughts, like wishes. She wanted, her kid to do well in life, and she thought the best way to do that would be to integrate her into society early and in the best possible way.
Well, there's a really great moment.
You could say, sorry, one more thing. You could say that she was neglecting, like the nature side of things, and you can even see that in the fact that she's always wearing a uniform and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you noticed, but in the beginning of the movie, when they're looking at the schedule, the mom says, "You're gonna make a wonderful grown-up," and the old man says that at the end.
Yeah.
For different reasons.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's like one of the strong points.
And it was like, I don't think I make a great grown-up.
So I thought it was interesting that around this point she also starts lying to the mom, and she learns that through the old man which is to say that you learn to lie through nature, which is always interesting. And shortly after they're having adventures, having a good time, and the old man sort of mentions that he's not gonna be around forever, and he's gonna leave soon, and that she can't come with him. Similar to how the prince told that to the pilot in the book. And then, in fact, he actually. Oh, at this point, he tells her the end of the book, and she gets really upset at the end of the book.
All right.
So no,
I didn't get that upset though.
Yeah.
I didn't get upset as she does in the movie.
So she kind of not curses him, but she gets upset at him and kind of storms off. And the next day, really, we see a ambulance at his front door, kind of taking him away. And she gets really sad and chases after the ambulance. But they don't let her see him. So then she's back home, and she decides that she's gonna run away to find the little prince. And she very literally kind of jumps out the window and falls into the bushes full of darkness. She descends into darkness. And from there, you could argue that she stayed there and possibly fell asleep on the rest of the
Have a good rest of your day, Rocket Reads. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for your well wishes. I hope your sloppy joes are delicious.
Yeah, we'll get off soon, but
yeah, we're almost done. Please.
And you can come back and watch the end later.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so then she finds the plane in a restored condition. Mm-hmm. And the fox comes to life. She has a little pet fox toy plushie.
Plushie, yeah.
And they go off to find.
I love it.
And they go off to find the little prince, and they arrive at a planet that's full of buildings and.
Well, it's all her snow globes.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if you caught that.
Yeah,
and it's all her snow globes that came from her dad. There's also the mention that the mom was becoming like her dad. Mm-hmm. So we know that the dad is someone that's been trapped in culture itself. He's trapped in the world of in this oppressive world of gray. So it's all the snow globes, but also I think this is the planet they arrived to is her planet. It's her internal representation of the world. Oh. And so she has to find, if the little prince in the book is his youth, the little prince in this world, Mr. Prince, is hers. So she has to find her own youthful spirit. And she finds that it's been oppressed by this by this great society. It's not the same little prince. This one's hers. And she has to free him from that. And she sees the same repeating characters that the pilot saw, that he talked about in the book, because those are the same characters we see in everyone's life. Yeah. So I thought that was really nicely portrayed.
I'm so sorry.
But in any case, yeah, they go on a big adventure, and she frees the little prince and gets him back to his planet, back to the stars. So she restores the stars within her own world, and now she has something to aim at. She restores the highest ideal. Mm-hmm. And it's at that point that she can go back home and live her life.
It's so good. It's so good. And like not knowing if the prince really dies or not, which you kind of do. We don't know if the old man died.
which you cannot do because at the end she's looking at the stars and she hears both of them laugh.
That's right. Oh. Can I go home now? Oh, you're crying
No,
too.
no. And with that, we're done.
I'm so sorry if this is not as entertaining as my normal content. I don't feel good.
When they're in the planet, they find him in the one building that had light at the top, symbolizing that he is the star. He is the highest ideal to achieve. He's the thing to look up to.
Absolutely. Thank you
I
so
thought it
much
was interesting
for joining
that
us. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're not.
Okay, I guess we're done. There's a couple more things to say, but
You got more?
kinda.
What else you got?
I thought it was interesting that the plane returned to its original disheveled state, because it was like pristine when she finds it in the backyard, but then when they actually arrive at the Little Prince planet, it didn't get disheveled. It returned to the exact shape it was in when it was in the backyard regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's something to say about her waking up, like coming out of the dream. Like things are starting to return to reality. I don't know. I have a couple more notes, but it's okay. I think it's interesting that they made the vain person, the vain guy, represent law. Implying the law is vain. The businessman at some point says that stars are bad for business because they are for lazy men to gaze at.
That's in the book.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because stars are things to dream for, to dream at, and
Reach for.
And they're the highest ideal achievable, but in a way they're bad for business because, well, in a perfectly cold essential machine, I guess you don't want that. But in a healthy, normal society, you do. So there's things there.
I think that's what's so beautiful about the story is that it can be interpreted on every page. On every page, there's a new sense of, I don't know, something to take away from it. It's a very wise little book, and it's very beautifully written. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining. If you liked it,
wash your hands, wear a mask. I did all of that. I am a very
angry person.
Angry little person. Well, I wear my mask like constantly at work, in the car, everywhere. I wash my hands constantly, and I still got it. And yeah, it's been going on 3 years of dealing with this, but it's still out there, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Please wash your hands. Okay, goodbye. Have a good day.
If you made it this far, let us know if you liked it and if you want to see more of these live streams. We might do more, maybe every week. Maybe
every week.
Why not?
All
right, see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye. Oh, hold on. Yay.